Hello, good evening, and welcome to this very special program for Good Evening Ghana tonight. Nana Addo Akufo-Addo has just returned from Sunyani, where he's full of confidence that he could be president of Ghana next time. We want to find out from him tonight why he thinks he could be president. We want to find out from him what he's worried about relating to Ghanaian economy. But just on the eve of the NPP Congress, President Mahama launched a book of successes, a book of infrastructure creation by his government. We'll confront Akufo-Addo with that and ask him whether he can match that by any chance. It's Good Evening Ghana here on Metro TV. Stay tuned and tell your friend to tell his friend that Nana Addo is live.
Nice to see you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
How was tonight?
Excellent.
You look very energized. Very excited.
Yeah.
I have a lot to talk about this morning.
Okay.
So that will be it for Good Evening Ghana. Nana Akufo-Addo is with us tonight. Is on Good Evening Ghana on Metro TV. He's one of those who will be president in 2017. If you don't understand that, I mean that either he or John Mahama, one of them, will be president. So this is a potential president just returned from an eventful congress in Sunyani in the middle part of Ghana. Akufo-Addo is next. Thank you for your time and welcome to the program. Thank you again, sir. It's a pleasure.
Paul, it's good to see you here again. This is the second or third time you've
Absolutely.
been here. Yeah.
And usually when I've come, I've brought victory in the next event.
That's good. It's good news. Anyway, it's really good of you to have come, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
How was Sunyani? You sounded very confident about something. What are you confident about?
Confident. I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. And what I saw in Sunyani really has reinforced that sense of, let me put it, cautious optimism. I saw the party in good shape in Sunyani. At relatively short notice, we brought people from all over the country down. And the atmosphere there, the sense of oneness, the purposefulness, encouraged me that despite the obvious and well-known problems that the party has gone through this year, the rank and file of our party and the structures of our party are still in good shape. And that's encouraging because, you know, the difficulty about this business, you're sitting in your office, events occur, and out there you don't know exactly how they've impacted on people. You have to make a guess, informed, educated, whatever you call it. So to see the spirit that there was inside the party on Saturday was for me a very encouraging development. Secondly, the determination that come what may, we're going to really make a fist of campaigning in 2016 and bring to bear our message to the Ghanaian people was also very evident there. The main speeches that were made were about the issues confronting Ghana, were about how we intend to tackle those issues. And the issues confronting our country are serious ones. We have an economy that has gone into a tailspin. Effectively, we're back in an IMF bailout program. That's the clearest indication of that something has gone seriously wrong. We spent a lot of time in Kufuor's time weaning the country of IMF dependency. And because of the sound management of the national economy that the country witnessed in that period, we were able to achieve it. And the sound management taking place without a drop of oil revenue. Kufuor has the distinction of being the political leader in whose time oil was discovered, largely as a result of the policies that he implemented, and yet did not benefit. When I say did not, I don't mean personally, his government did not benefit in any way from oil revenue. Successor governments have come who have benefited, and they rather have taken us into a ditch. Bloomberg, the Ghana success story has gone dark. All over the world and within our own country, we see that where we were taken to, we've come down precipitously, largely as a result of the mismanagement of the economy, widespread corruption, the incompetence of it.
The president has published a book of achievements, mainly on infrastructure achievement. I'll be asking you about that. But just get back onto your campaign. You named the campaign team in a different way from what we have been used to. I get the sense that you want to synchronize your campaign team with the party officials. This is new. Why is it so?
Well, perhaps it's been more evident, but it's clear. I mean, this is the third time I'm doing it, and I have to learn from my past experiences. That hopefully is the way all of us make progress, is that you learn from what has gone past. And I'm wanting to do the campaign where the party structures, right from the polling station level up to the national executive level, are at the very forefront of what we're going to do. The mobilizing capability, the mobilizing capability, whatever, is within the party. And therefore, if one can energize the party to be up and doing, is the surest way of being able to succeed in bringing together that large plurality that you need to win a presidential and parliamentary election.
There's a concern that you have Peter McMahon, who was the chairman at the time that you lost 2008. Not just lost, but lost very narrowly.
Right.
And won a first round that you couldn't sustain.
Right.
That would be the height of perhaps a disconnect from ordinary people. For a party chairman,
well,
you have McMahon there as leading this effort.
Yes, I can understand it, but also to be remembered that he was the Western Regional Chairman at the time when we became the majority party in the Western region. He has that to his credit as well, working very much at the grassroots level. He was able to catapult us into a position of political dominance in the Western region when he was Western Regional Minister and Chairman. So he has both sides, and I think that, like I say, all of us learn from our past. He can learn from his triumphs, and as well as from the defeat of 2000. But above all, what persuaded me to, of course, is that he's extremely familiar with the electoral processes. And essentially, that's where we are, the electoral process of Ghana, both within the country and outside in the wider African context. He's seen as one of the people most knowledgeable. He's being asked to talk about electoral systems all over the world. I mean, even though I like say Dr. Afarijan, for instance, who used to go around talking a lot. He has not been an electoral commissioner, but there's a recognition that his knowledge, his interest in the area. There are other reasons, other considerations. He has good manners. He has good interpersonal relations. I don't know, perhaps with the exception of Nana Hinito, I don't know anybody else in the party who has any strong feelings about him. He's the French
Jega, who also led your campaign to defeat in 2012.
Policy advisor. But is a large mind. There's a lot of information there which I find very useful. I appreciate very much the way he analyzes things. One of the difficulties for us, of course, is these elections which we disputed strongly, whether or not really we lost them or not. I mean, but the record is there. But I think that he has a good mastery of virtually all the issues that are confronting our country at this stage, and therefore, and then also a very good articulation. He exposes and talks about problems in a manner which are easily digestible by everybody. They are the main reasons why I have him as the policy advisor of the campaign. We have Adom-Otchere, who was General Secretary when we won the part in 2000, who's yet another person with a very deep knowledge of the Ghanaian political scene, a very deep knowledge of the party, a very committed party worker, as the strategist of the campaign. In some ways, they are the three key officials of the campaign, together with Baomi and myself, of course. And I think it's a good team. I think it's a team that hopefully will gel, will agree, will find it easy to work together, and give us that impetus that we need. Frankly, I said so in Sunyani. I'll repeat it again. At the end of the day, the taxi driver in whose car you sit, who will turn around to ask you next year where you will vote, and who will start by saying, well, what he's saying, we should all vote Nana Akufo-Addo. That person is a major campaign asset. People, ordinary people, going about their business, promoting the idea of the party and of myself. They are, for me, at the end of the day, even more significant than this list of names who are doing specific jobs. I'm not saying I cannot downgrade them, they're very important. But I think that the people who are, if you like, right there, the so-called ground, people like you, who do the campaigning, are in the end even more impactful than those within the hierarchy. And it is they that I am appealing to, and especially the young people of this country. This election, more than any, is about their future. We've had a government that in the last 5 years has mortgaged the future of this country on a spree of borrowing that has now put us, in the, is a country of high-risk debt distress, which has ballooned our stock of indebtedness and compromising very much the future of our country. It is that more than anything else that has brought about the bailout, the contraction of the fiscal space that we're required to be able to do those important capital investments in our infrastructure to open up our country and make our country ready for serious business. That is what is being compromised by this administration. So the young people of Ghana, they have no jobs. I think the highest levels of unemployment in our history are what we're witnessing now. If any group of people should come forward to back the demand for change, it's the young people of Ghana. And they are the people that I am directing my campaign to, that their future is under threat, and that together, with me and the MPP, we can build a stronger future in Ghana. We can build a future of a Ghana that works, that has an economy that works, and is capable of generating the hundreds of thousands of jobs that they want. And together, we can turn this country around. I believe that, for me, that is what this election is about. Because where we are now, we're not in a good place. As a country, we're not in a good place. We've done infrastructural investments, this and that. Yeah, fair enough. But at the end of the day, what does it translate into the living standards of our people? What does it translate into employment opportunities for our young people? Are they getting, is the economy of Ghana expanding? An economy which in 2008, when Akufo was leading, was growing at 8% plus GDP. And even for the moment when oil was discovered, went as far as 14%. Is today at 4%. And even that is probably a shaky percentage. We see an economy that is contracting. It's contracting at the level of industrial activity and manufacturing. It's contracting at the level of our agricultural performance. All the key indices about a country and its progress, we are going backwards in Ghana. I know there's a lot of propaganda.
Yeah, the president doesn't think so. He was launching a book the other day.
Well, how can you think so? He's our president.
100 secondary schools that he's put out.
Really?
Yes, it was in the book.
Yes.
School children have been given sandals to wear to go to school. And I know you're passionate about education. That's why I'm bringing this up. He has also done the roads. He put out many roads that have been done, hospitals that have been improved. Tamale Central Hospital, the Rich Hospital in Accra has been done. They are doing things that they say
anything that will strengthen our educational system, anything that will expand and improve our infrastructure are to be welcomed. But there are several other issues that all of us have to look at. The key, of course, is value for money. Akufo was able to put up 6-unit classroom blocks for 85,000 CDs at the time. And today, you're doing it for 350, 400,000. A couple of weeks ago, well, a month ago, we had a series of statistics that are alarming. Bunkantamanso built a classroom block for 510,000 CDs.
You mean one classroom?
Well,
or three classrooms?
1 unit.
1 unit of school.
Yeah.
For how much?
510,000 CDs. The regional...
You have 1 million CDs?
Yes. The regional minister, he's a friend of mine, he was there, he opened it. 2 weeks later, MTN went and built the same 6-unit classroom block for 170,000 CDs. These are all facts that are recorded in GDA. So you ask yourself, I mean, these extraordinary discrepancies in the way in which our monies are being used. What is the story? Is this where it is indeed that the issues of corruption find themselves? Are we getting value for money? Yes, you put up things. But if indeed in doing so you have bankrupted the state, impoverished the country, what is the real nature of the achievement that you have made? It's important that the Ghanaian people are told the truth about what's going on. Yeah, Paul, for what I'm saying, for instance, Egypt is constructing a 1,800 megawatts power plant.
1,800?
Yeah, at the cost of what, 1.3 billion United States dollars. Abu Dhabi is constructing one at 1,600 megawatts at a cost of 1.5 billion United States dollars. Our Ameri deal and the car power together are getting us 500 megawatts at a price of $2 billion plus. So you put all these things together and you keep asking yourself, why is it that at every stage of the public transaction process, the figures that we are generating are so much more than elsewhere? What is it? What's going on? Why should we, for 500 megawatts of power, pay $500 million more than is being paid by a rich country like Abu Dhabi, which is now building one for $1.5 billion, 1,600 megawatts. You ask yourself the question. These are the matters that are thrown up, which reinforce the discussion about corruption and waste and absence of value for money in what we're doing in Ghana. And it is important that that is what we exist to do as opposition, is to point these things out to the Ghanaian people. It is not to incite disaffection, but to let them know that this is what is going on, so that when the time comes for the process of accountability to be complete, they will make informed decisions about the future of our country. We can't continue to go on. The hospital, Ridge
Hospital.
Yes, Ridge Hospital, for instance. I believe that it's costing us 250 million United States dollars to renovate the hospital for something like 400 odd beds.
Yes.
The government, the University of Ghana, is building with Israeli money
the teaching hospital.
The teaching hospital, $215 million for 600-bed teaching hospital.
Wow.
Everywhere you go, when you make the comparisons, this is what emerges. So that when we're saying that this today big emphasis on what we have done, we're saying that it has been done at the cost of the Ghanaian exchequer, that these expenditures are a major contributory factor to our growing impoverishment, and that far from it being a sign of good governance, there are evidence of waste, of corruption and incompetence in the manner in which we're handling it. The President objects to the use of this word. I can't quite understand how a leader in a democracy can object to being called incompetent or whatever.
No, he said the evidence should be provided.
But the evidence is there. Yeah. I'm giving you some of them. The way in which public procurement is being done.
Yeah. Talk about that. I think there's a bit of humorous side to this. Your running mate, you seem to have done something to him, because when he came up, he was being criticized as being too technocratic. He was not a politician. I think having run two campaigns with you, you have infested him with some politics. At his last press conference, he was throwing a lot of low blows.
Low? No, I don't believe they're low. I think that they're justifiable blows.
How is he doing anyway? Is he now enjoying a lot of politics?
Clearly, and it's obviously, I mean, the appetite, the thing was there, needed an opportunity to express itself. He's being expressed, and he's being extremely effective. I mean, and I think that for me, what I'm gathering from him and my relationship with him, which is giving me a great deal of comfort for the future, is, first of all, the analysis is very, very lucid. We're talking about somebody who has a very clear understanding about the figures and what they mean for the lives of ordinary people.
You're talking about Mahmoud Bawumia.
Yes, I'm talking about Bawumia. And that is how he's able to project so clearly. On top of it, equally significant, especially for me, is also a vision of what needs to be done to put our country put on the path of progress and of prosperity. And there's a vision that I share, and it is that which is binding us together and reinforcing our partnership. I have absolutely no doubt that if, by the grace of God, we are to win next year, he, as head of the Economic Management Committee, as the Vice President, will prove to be the most successful in our history. I have no doubt in my mind about it. And I believe that between him and 2 or 3 others that we have in our party, we've got the potential to turn things around. Everybody's very worried where we are. Is it possible for us? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. In 2001, when John Kufuor took over the reins of government, our economy was in a very shaky state. People say almost similar. In 3 or 4 years, a strong team under good leadership was able to turn things around. Ghana became the poster boy on the Africa Rising narrative and was touted as the successful story of African organization and development. So it is possible. What it requires is clarity in the analysis. What is it that you need to do? You're going to insist that public procurements are done on a competitive tendering basis, which is what the public procurement law of our country insists on.
But they have said that under Kufuor's government there was sole sourcing.
There will always be sole sourcing, but it's an exception. It should not be the rule. Chairman Sabusu, the minority leader, told us in Sunyani that 85% of public transactions under the Mahama government have been sole sourcing. That's become the rule, not the exception.
It's a window.
It's a window that can sometimes, for reasons, very, very particular reasons, usually to do with sensitive issues of national security and stuff, are done. But as a general rule, the process has to be by competitive tendering. For instance, you do that. Secondly, government appetite for borrowing, which is jeopardizing.
Let me to stay with you on the sole sourcing. If you become president, will you be prepared to amend the public procurement law to say that only 5% within a period, a year, 2 years, can go?
We'll look at it.
Is this something you
would definitely have to? But in any event, the law as it stands today, and that has something to do with the making of the law, okay, makes it quite clear that the general rule is competitive tendering, bidding. That's the general rule. And that there are exceptional circumstances that have to come into play before you go down the route of sole sourcing. So if we apply the law, both in its letter and its spirit, we will find that the majority of our public transactions will be the subject of competitive bidding. And I have no doubt that then that when that is done, the issues about value for money, about efficiency, will all be addressed in that process. And I think that that's where we want to go. So I'm saying, you have the analysis of the issues. What are the things that we need to do? If we're going to make our country, we're going to build a competitive economy and make Ghana an attractive place for business, domestic as well as foreign. There are things that we need to do to make sure that we have interest rates that make sense. If people are having to borrow 32, 33, 34% rates of interest, that is not an atmosphere for doing serious business. You have a currency that is weak and wobbly, depreciating, and as well as weak. A certain stability in the currency is essential so that business people can make the right projections for the future. I mean, there are a series of things that have to be done to position our country in such a way that we can get going again. We're attracting investment into the country. Ghanaians themselves are very, very keen on investing in creating new enterprises, because you look at the business of unemployment, how are you going to resolve it? You can only resolve it if people are creating enterprises. If people find the atmosphere in the country such that they are putting their money into creating new enterprises, expanding existing enterprises, that's the way that you're going to be able to absorb people and get them to work. Your agriculture is working. Our cocoa industry is in the pits. Can you imagine that we're at a stage in our country where such an important aspect of our economy can grow at a 0.04%? Agriculture, which was growing at 7% in Kufuor's time, is now growing at 0.04%. All the indices, this is what I keep coming back to. And these matters, we are going to continue to hammer them before the people of Ghana this year. They are not figments of my imagination. These are the statistics that are produced by
So you want to go to the election with a theme of, here is the economy of Ghana, here is what it used to be, this is what it has become, and the people of Ghana must change.
And also what it can be. What it can be.
What it can be, the potential.
What it can be, the potential. Because that is what excites some of us about the involvement in the public life of our country. The enormous potential of this country. 25, 27 million people is relatively small for a country. But it is larger than many, many, many countries, even in Europe, developed Europe. And the wealth of the nation, the quality of the Ghanaian people given incentive, we built a world-class industry in the cocoa industry by small-scale peasant farmers in Ghana because the incentives were right and the policy framework was correct. Next door, they're doing it next door in Cote d'Ivoire. The export receipts are in the area of $2 billion, largely from cocoa. Cote d'Ivoire is earning $12 billion.
From cocoa?
From the exports of commodities. Not coffee, just cocoa, coffee, cocoa, palm oil, cotton, cashew. These are their 5 main export crops. We are, since they're still dependent just on cocoa. I mean, all these are because there's a policy framework, there's an attitude at the center of the state which is encouraging business, is encouraging investment, is encouraging enterprise.
In Cote d'Ivoire?
In Cote d'Ivoire. We want to do the same here in Ghana.
And we can?
I have absolutely no doubt. Kufuor's period told us that it is possible. I think it wasn't perfect. I don't think there's ever been a perfect government. But clearly, it showed the way that if the commitment was there, the determination to use the best materials available to you, human materials, the lucidity in which you have made your analysis, and therefore the clarity with which you have applied the solutions, the consistency in applying the solutions. We're saying that, for instance, we want to stimulate industrial activity. And we have made the decision that import duties on raw materials for industry and manufacturing in Ghana, which exist today, are going to be abolished.
Abolish import duties?
Yeah.
That's a major policy.
Yeah, we've said so.
Okay.
So we've said so. Why? Because we believe that it's one way of making our industries competitive.
So that if I'm making paper, I'm printing cards, my raw material to do that, I don't pay duty on it?
You don't pay duty on it. You then produce, you can, because at any one stage, our industries are competing, not just with each other, but also with foreign industries who are borrowing money, and the cost of capital to them is much cheaper. They're coming from fiscal regimes that are much more advantageous. We want to create those same conditions here. We want to bring down capital gains tax. So people will have the incentive and will have the stimulus to be able to invest, because it is the investment. It is the putting of your money in expanding enterprises, in creating new enterprises. That is the way we're going to be able to deal problems of our unemployment, the growth of our economy, the expansion of our economy, and ultimately, of course, lifting up the living standards of our people.
So you are talking a lot about the economy, but the NDC is going to point to something else in the campaign. They're going to say that the devil you know is better than the angel you don't know. They're going to say that here's the MPP that is in shambles at the top level. The party is disunited. They are pulling knives at each other at the headquarters. Every 3 months there's an incident. There's this group of young men, invincibles here and then, and they are generally violent people who are not focused. And it's a bit conflicting with your recent personality, because my producer had pulled this off, an article that you had written. Actually, it's a letter you wrote. This was 2006 or so. And yeah, it's entitled An Open Letter to Victor Newman, who works for you.
Yes.
Newman had written publicly to you, and he was saying that you should stake your claim to the MPP inheritance, as in the
succession to Akufo.
Succession to Akufo, that you should stake your claim to this. He was worried that you were busy about government business and being foreign minister.
This is
Newman, yes.
2000.
Yes, 2006.
Okay.
And others were saying, the others were showing their interest, and you were not. So you wrote back to him, and among other things, you said, I have not changed the view that I expressed at my vetting, and by that time you had been vetted early this year. The most efficient foundation for a successful tilt at the presidency by an MPP candidate in 2008 will be the good performance of the Akufo administration between now and then, the unity of our party, that the government delivers on its promise. This is Nana Akufo-Addo in 2007 or 6. But now, your party, the chairman tragically dies. You make a statement that the party should be united. Chairman of the party gets suspended. He is in court. General secretary gets suspended. Second national vice chairman gets suspended. It appears that the unity of the party has some distance to travel. And the NDC are going to point at that, you know. But here you are in the conflict of 2007 and now. What's going on?
They're entitled to. Except though, I mean, I don't know, you're a lawyer. You know that at the end of the day, in our profession, they say you make your case on the strength of the plaintiff's case, not on the weakness of the defendant's case.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we would hope that they will make a case for themselves on the strength of... No, but it doesn't matter. They're entitled to. It's fair comment. And I don't think also that it will be. It would not be.
Really, have you changed from the time you wrote this article?
No, not at all. It reflects my thinking. It reflects my thinking throughout my political career. The reason why I didn't find any difficulty in supporting Akufo in 1998 through to 2000 in the campaign to make him president, even though I was the loser of the Sunyani Congress of 1998. It continues to be my view that the collective is more important than the individual initiative or the individual ambition, and that the overall interest, welfare of the group, of the country, should predominate in everything that we're doing. Vis-a-vis the issues in our party, it is not a secret that we've had a difficult year. And some painful decisions had to be taken. it's equally important to point out two things. That the issues that emerged were handled by the organs of our party, structures that have been set up, and in my view, at the end of the day, were well handled.
You think they were well handled?
Let me just give you some examples of what I mean. The disciplinary proceedings that resulted in the recommendation by the National Disciplinary Committee of indefinite suspension of our national chairman, Mr. Paul Adom-Otchere, our general secretary, Mr. Kwabena, and of Mr. Sammy Crab, our second national vice, were taken unanimously. We're taken unanimously by a body of extremely responsible individuals, because it's being lost in the cacophony, the noise. The members of the National Disciplinary Committee of the NPP are the Right Reverend Asante Entry, Madam Amabusia, Dr. Kwame Addo, Professor Michael Kwe, Alhaji Abdul Rahman, Alhaji Short, we call him the Upper West Regional Chairman, and Eugenia Kofi Kusi, Eugenia Gifty Kusi. These are all extremely responsible individuals. I hear the people were talking about they are my stooges. Really? Asante Entry, my stooge? What a stooge? Kwame Addo, my stooge. These fiercely independent spirits who examine matters on their own merits. They're nobody's stooges. They work according to their conscience and their view of the public interest. These are the people who took these decisions. In fact, as far as Mr. Kwabena, the General Secretary, was concerned, they were joined in their decision by Mr. Ikwe-Otu. People believe that somehow or other he's on the other side of the internal NPP divide from me. He joined them in the decision, the recommendation that they made. These recommendations are also then taken on by the national executives of our party, and on each occasion by unanimity, not just overwhelming majorities, but unanimously. Everyone agreeing with the recommendation. And in the case of Kwabena, even varying the recommendation that had been made by the disciplinary committee. On the one occasion where an appeal has come so far, which was from Mr. Paul Adom-Otchere, the national, the 77 people who were in the room at the time of the voting, the 78th, the president, even though he attended the meeting, was not there at the time of the vote. 70 of them voted for dismissing the appeal. 1 voted in favor of the appeal, and 6 of us abstained.
Oh, you abstained?
I did. These are the figures that tell you that behind these decisions are not capricious decisions being made for factional gain, but they are decisions being made according to the party's sense of what they require to be done to bring harmony, to bring understanding and clarity to the work of our party. For it to be painted as if it is some initiative of mine, that I am at the bottom of it all, I couldn't work with Mr. Adom-Otchere, I couldn't work with Kwabena. I mean, I'm amazed that the politics...
The one is particularly, because for the period that I've been working as a broadcaster, I'm aware of your very personal relation with Kwabena, dating back pre-2000.
So it was part of my campaign in 1998.
Yeah, absolutely, 98. Yeah. So what happened between you and Kwabena?
Nothing has happened. He became General Secretary of our party, and a series of decisions, of events took place, of which he was part, that has brought about this matter. I, all the way through, saw myself as somebody who should, as much as possible, try and be a vehicle for bringing understanding and oneness inside the party. In the end, it didn't work.
But do you still like them? Do you still like Mr.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with any of them. These are party people. Paul Adom-Otchere, I don't know as well as I know Kwabena. But Kwamna I've known for a very long time. I don't have any problem. I don't have any difficulty at all. So the idea that somehow these are my decisions, first of all, I think is wholly erroneous. These are decisions that were taken and they've been taken. And I believe that what you saw in Sunyani on Saturday was the party saying, yes, all this has happened, we regret it, but now we're looking forward. Now we want to go forward and get on with the business of organizing and
mobilizing.
mobilizing.
Before I move to other matters, in moving forward, let's now talk about, you talked about McMahon and his connection with elections and his astuteness with African elections all over. The way the elections will be run is a big part of the conversation. That's how the Supreme Court verdict ended as well, in terms of what should be the mechanisms, the procedure to create the clear emergence of a very valid winner. There's been concerns about the voters register, and your running mate Mahmoud Baomi has had press conferences about the voters register.
I myself have raised the issue.
The sanctity of the voters register. Right. There's been also a seminar in which McMahon was presented for the MPP. What we know now, though, is that the Electoral Commissioner has gone to Parliament with a budget. But the question about whether there will be a new voters register or not has not yet been answered. Forbes magazine has weighed into it, saying that Ghana's peace and stability hinges on next year's elections relating to the voters register. Assuming that there's no new voters register, which is what your party has been calling for, what are the options?
I think that first of all, I mean, we have to hear from the Electoral Commission, because one thing which is lost sight of in this whole discussion, this whole conversation, is that all the parties agreed that the current voters register is not fit for purpose. The argument turned on what you needed to do to make it more fit for purpose. We insisted from the beginning that we should have a new register. Principally, the NDC said, no, it is enough to audit it and clean it up, etc. So the fact that the register as is not fit for purpose is not something which is in dispute. All sides of the political divide in Ghana are clear enough about it. So if our new chair of the Electoral Commission ends up by saying no new register, we want to hear from her how she addresses the general complaint about it. And I think it is when that is done that we will be in a position to say whether or not we think that it is sufficient or adequate, or whether we believe that there are other measures that need to be taken. I mean, there are people, for instance, I know who are thinking maybe that are thinking of going to court on this matter. I don't know to what extent.
If what you say is satisfactory, there could be a court action. I'm
just saying that I know that, for instance, people have been contemplating the idea of going to court about the new register for something. We don't know how it's going to go. But the point I'm trying to make is that whatever be the case, it cannot be the status quo ante. Yeah, because everybody's in agreement
about the status quo.
That the status quo ante
is not correct.
It's not good enough. So if you say that the way to improve things is not a new register, but rather X, Y, Z, let us wait to hear. Because, for instance, the Nigerian solution, when Jega decided to look at the register in Nigeria, initially, from the 73 million that were registered in 2011, process of fingerprint identification allowed him to wean 4 million people off the register. And then they created the new voters register, which incorporated the biometric data of each voter. There's a chip that went into the permanent voter's card in which your biometric details were there. He created it for 68 million people. At the end of the day, 58 million were the ones who came forward for the register. You can ask yourself...
By that process?
By that process. You can ask yourself the question whether or not it was because people were tired, were not bothering to come, or whether in fact those were people that were really non-existent. He has not been able to find an answer. I don't think you'll ever be able to find an answer. But at the end of the day, it meant that something like 14 million people were shorn off the Nigerian register of 73 million to bring it down to the 58 million. And very interesting fact, Goodluck Jonathan in 2011 beat Muhammadu Buhari by over 10 million votes. When the register shrank from 73 plus million to 58 million, not only did he lose, but his own vote came down by 10 million. The man who had won the election with 22 million votes in 2011.
It's a curious connection you are trying to establish.
Well, I'm giving it for important communicators and participants in the national conversation like yours to look at and to see why it is that it is important for us to take this issue of the register seriously. Because if you have a more credible base document, you get out of it. Because at the end of the day, what is it about the Nigerian experience that has caught the imagination of the world? All the expectations that Nigeria's election would be like the previous ones with problems here and there disappeared because there was a sense that this election produced, if you like, the right result. It produced the result in tune with the wishes of the majority of Nigerians. That being the case, not only did it lead to a quick acceptance by the losing candidate, the incumbent president, of the result, but it settled the Nigerian population. Nobody found any urge to get up to be making. Yeah, there were pockets of problems in our countries at this stage of our democratic evolution. There will always be, but substantially, people felt that this was the right result and they had no problem with it. And that is what it is that we're after. We're after results in elections where there's no sense of injustice, of being cheated, but that you have got a result that conforms with the process. And to arrive at that, have a base document that is fit for purpose is critical. It is not the only. It is not the exclusive issue, but it is a very important component of getting it the
Let's
right.
have a small matter when you're done.
Let me just finish and conclude by that. At the end of the day, if the Electoral Commission turns around and say, no, for why is they we're satisfied with this, they cannot stop there. They have to respond to the collective demand that something be done to make this register more fit for purpose. So we will see what it is that they have to say.
There's a small matter in which some observers who are critical of the NPP position say that this voters register, the status quo ante that you talk about, the one of 2012, that the NPP say they don't like, is that not the same register upon which Akufo-Addo was claiming victory in 2012? Yes. How do you answer that question? This is the same register that you were claiming victory.
And part of the problem about the 2012 election was the issues of the register. It became obvious in court. It became obvious in court.
You were seeking to be declared the winner of that election.
Yes. Because on our understanding, on a proper examination of the evidence, that was the rightful conclusion. But part of the problem that led to the final result was this amorphous nature of this register. You remember the critical issue about foreign registrants.
Yes.
The difference between the presidential vote and the parliamentary vote, which got the Electoral Commission to tell us that it was explained by the fact that there were so many overseas voters.
You mean the number of people who voted in the presidential election, that very important issue, was different from the number of people who voted in the parliamentary?
I think it was something like 500,000
yes,
votes.
Significant.
Very significant. Especially since...
Oh no, I see what you're referring to. The votes the president garnered
Yes.
was 500,000 more than what the NDC parliamentary...
No, not that. The votes of the presidential turnout.
The turnout, the register of the presidential turnout was 500,000 more
than for the parliamentary.
And they said it was foreign registration.
Asked to produce evidence, they produced evidence of 705 people. So you ask yourself, the nearly 500,000, where are they in the system? And in a situation whereby the president's margin of victory, apart from the anomaly it has with the parliamentary votes, the aggregate of the parliamentary votes of the NDC, in terms of his own difference with me, was well within this 500,000 mark.
Just about the court, there's another worrying matter about your supporters who you managed.
I'm saying that the matter that is being pointed out, that there's a contradiction in our position, to me there's no contradiction whatsoever.
Your supporters who you were able to calm down in 2012 and say to them, let's go to court and let's be calm, let's not turn this country upside down. Think tanks are worried right now that you have lost that mandate because you went to court and what the court gave mixed feelings, and this will be our last question. Sort of mixed feelings, and so you will not now be able to tell your supporters, let's go to court. There's a bit of worry about what might happen. Is the cat out of the bag? Are people going to take their destiny into their own hands? Is there going to be violence at the polling stations?
No, it's a legitimate question, but at the same time, I believe that if all of us are pulling in the same direction, we can avoid any such thing. First of all, be satisfied that the reforms that are on their way of our electoral system have a broad consensual support.
So that's key.
That's key, because that is what allows you to be able to turn around and tell the population that yes, we have an electoral system that is going to work well. Already noises are being made by the Electoral Commission about introducing high-level academics as returning officers and the rest. So some process is going on. But at the end of the day, the push for peaceful conduct of elections from people like me is never going to cease. We believe that democratic government is the best form of government for our country, indeed for the world, for the continent and for the world. And whatever it is necessary for us to do to reinforce it, we're going to do. And clearly violence is the antithesis of democratic accountability. So as far as that is concerned, nothing has changed. And I believe that the NPP has shown time again that it's a very responsible party and will take a very responsible position.
Just at the humorous side, there's a new addition to the group that you lead, and I'm not talking about the MPP here. I'm talking about politicians' children who become politicians. So you, Samia Nkrumah, and Michael Kwe Jr., I don't know whether you realize there's a new addition. She's called Ezenator Rawlings.
Welcome, most welcome.
What do you make of her ambition?
It's good. I think for me, any young person who takes an interest in the public life of our country is determined to make the sacrifices, get involved in the discussion, in the debate, in the conversation, to see how best our country can move forward is a very, very welcome thing. And she comes from a powerful background, a man who has been in the center of the political life of our country for, virtually 3 decades now. So, no, she's most welcome, and I wish her the very best of luck. I don't want her to win those
Of course, I know that.
But nevertheless, I wish her the best of luck.
The last time I came here for an interview, you were preparing for the MPP nomination, which you got by a landslide, and I think my own gut feeling is that you got that landslide because I ended the interview with something, I'll end with the same thing again. And I ended with what the people were calling you in those days. They said, Shea Nana. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Paul.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for
good luck.
coming again.
Cheers.
Thank you.
That's Good Evening Ghana with Akufo-Addo. Good night.